Greetings, NBA YouTubers. It's your buddy Choppadong. Happy New Year to everybody. It is January 1st, 2019, and I am going to go through an all-encompassing question from one of our VIP members today as this episode of DFS Diary kicks in NBA style for the 5-game slate tonight. Of course, as always, head down to the comments section, click dfsarmy.com, use coupon code CHOP, 10% off. We are brought to you by the one, the only dfsarmy.com, which is a one-stop shop for everything daily fantasy sports. NHL, NFL, everything is included with our coverage, with coaches, with staff, with the way to guide you through real-time chat sessions that will make you a better player. So contemplate becoming a VIP down there in the comment section. Let's dive in. While you're down there, hit the like and subscribe button. I always forget to remind people to do that. It's the only way I can keep putting this content out to you. So don't forget to do that. Like and subscribe to the channel. Ring the little notification bell. Let's dive into a little bit of NBA. What I'm going to do is show you the question that the gentleman asked today. It was in the beginner's coaching room. If I can kick into it, that'd be great. Where we have a lot of questions, and you can see that, a few of us are always in here helping guys. It's been a little light lately being holiday week and all that good stuff, and it's nice to kind of get back into the fold myself and create a video. Cash asks, so when you guys give us what the players are, what players we should target, do we just emoji them and optimize them in our lineups? Also, is fading with the emojis, too, kind of on the opposite. What he's asking is when we give a core list of players, when our NBA expert or coach may say, I like this point guard and this shooting guard and this guy a lot, he's asking how much do we value that? Is that all we build with and we just put them in the optimizer, kind of lock them into our lineups? But yes, that's one way that you could do that. But you're putting all of your your hopes and dreams on that coach's ability to pick a core. I'm personally more of a consensus guy. I like to kind of get a feel for what multiple guys. I don't believe, even if you've won the most accurate DFS picker award for the last 8 years, I don't believe that any one person is ever correct. I don't believe that he's ever going to just nut his picks all of the time. I believe in what's called a consensus. I would look at our different coaches. I would look at this guy and that guy and that guy and that guy, and I would maybe assemble a list from their favorite plays together and see which names keep popping up on the list most often. If all 4 guys mention, Anthony Davis is a great play, while not groundbreaking news, he's probably in a very, very good spot today. And when I look around the league or around the industry, that's going to put me on the chalk, and it's also going to start teaching me how to get on the chalk and off the chalk where appropriate. Cash lineups on the chalk, tournament lineups maybe off the chalk a little bit. And we're going to kind of go in that direction when we're building lineups. So let me show you what I do, because this is an all coming. I listen to our coaches, but again, these guys provide a little bit of weight to what I'm already thinking. So let me show you what I do typically. And this isn't news to anybody who's followed this channel for the last few months. I'm going to go into the and one rating system of DFS Army's research station, sort by descending order. And I'm going to use this matchup rating. And if you're brand new, the matchup is, home versus away, recent, historic stats, field goal attempts, floor and ceiling ratings. I mean, it's got, DVP from the other team, rest factored in, all sorts of every freaking thing you can possibly think of. Field goal percentage, 3-point percent, all this junk is in there with different weights on it to bring certain matchups to the top, saying this guy checks all the boxes. He's at home, or he's, been hot lately, or he's facing a weak defense at that position. It's going to give those areas more weight to give him a better overall rating for the day, telling you he's more likely to succeed. That's what the and one rating system does. So I'm looking at Joel Embiid, Jokic, Lillard, whatever, as the higher guys on the slate. And I'm going to go down. Now, it's going to be a pretty shallow slate tonight, being that if we look for that number 11, we only go down about 10, 12 names, and we're automatically down there at the 11 or below. So it's going to be one of those nights where we don't have a ton of solid, straightforward, bam, picks, where you've got to play those guys. So you might rely more on your coaches for their secondary picks, or they may all say that C.J. McCollum is an elite shooting guard tonight, but they might not all say Lou Williams is, or Jimmy Butler is, or whatever. So I might look for, somebody mentioned J.J. Redick. I might look towards those guys to give me a little bit more a little bit more emphasis in my lineup. So one way that I do that is I sort this and one rating system, and then I start clicking through the positions. I go to point guard, and I'm going to do this live fire for you. So I'm going to write down Lillard, Murray, Fox, Simmons, and I'm abbreviating on my paper, Bledsoe, like Bledsoe, I just write Bled. And that way I'll know who it is when I get to it. And then I'm going to come over to shooting guard and do the same thing. Right? I generally take the top 5, top 3, top 10. I don't give a crud what you really take. It's just get it to a system where you are doing so and you're consistent day in and day out for yourself. Because that's where you're actually going to have the success, is you're going to do the same thing over and you're going to remove one of the moving pieces of variance, which then allows the natural volatility of the game to kind of go up, have its hot streaks and cold streaks through you, and you now know you're not causing it by flip-flopping and changing this and changing that. This way of picking your core of players stays the same. Therefore, if it does bad, well, that's just a bad night. If it does great, maybe it was just a good night. But the bottom line is you didn't change anything from today to tomorrow to night. Run this system for 2 weeks. Evaluate how you did through those 2 weeks, and then determine whether or not you want to change your way of researching or picking your players. Don't go, I had a bad night tonight, so I got to change it all up tomorrow and start over from scratch. You'll never get anywhere if you do it that way. Your shooting guards, C.J. McCollum, Lou Williams, Jimmy Butler, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and J.J. Redick. Small forwards, Giannis. Surprise, surprise that he's on that list. Gallinari, Kawhi. Again, surprise, surprise. Harkless is a Q, so if I put Harkless on there, I'm putting a question mark by him. Guancho. And then I'm going to go down one more to Gary Harris, who's also a Q. A question mark by him down to Chandler. So yeah, I included 7 guys, but in this case, when I'm filling in the lineups, and if these guys pull into my lineups and I see that they're still questionable and I click their name and I look and they haven't been upgraded to probable, I'm probably going to uncheck them from the optimizer and I'm probably going to just get rid of them. And I don't want any late scratches or any of that stuff to screw me over, okay? So I'm going to keep, at 5, I may need to be able to throw away those 2 questionable guys. Power forward, Paul Millsap, Tobias Harris, Aminu, Blake Griffin, and Harrell. So while I write that down, I'm looking also at gauging the depth of the position. And one of my little tricks is when we don't have a lot of guys over an 11, like we only got 3 here tonight, I might need to be paying up. Doesn't look like I'm paying up for Blake Griffin. He doesn't have an 11. But I might be including a lot of Tobias Harris in my lineup tonight as sort of a positional scarcity thing that I'm going to tend to pay up for quality at a position that is showing that it's kind of crappy tonight, if that makes sense. Kick into center. Embiid's questionable, so we'll put the big Q next to him. Jokic, Nurkic, Plumlee, which of course I'm just writing Plum, Gobert, and then one more Brolo for in case we need to get rid of Embiid tonight. So now I'm going to uncheck that box. I'm going to bring all of everybody back. And now I'm actually going to sort over here by value. I'm going to go descending. And I'm going to take about the top 5 or 10 in this value sorting situation. This 7 worries me. Anytime I see over about a 5.5, I get a little bit worried. But I've got, on the value side, I've got Cornette, Jokic again. Oh, that's a good sign. I'll actually put a little star by him in my notes. Shumpert, Bogdan again. So we'll put a star next to him. I'll explain it in a minute. C.J. McCollum, star next to him. Van Vliet. Hield, however you'd pronounce it. He's not facing me. He's not going to punch me if I get it wrong. Aminu with a star. OG. Lillard. Lillard's a borderline star. I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll call the list there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 names. So there's my top 10 value plays on the slate tonight. Now, what I put a star next to them for is if they appear over on the top and one rating system, they have one of the better matchups on the night, and they're on my value list, they probably deserve a little bit of extra credit tonight as far as being a doubly good pick. Okay, I've got strong indicators of these lists, and they're on both lists. If I created a third list of just maybe pure point projections or best 3 games, or most likely you've seen me do this before, where I'll scroll over here and go to the consistency number and say most likely to hit 5x, whatever other lists I sort of form, then the more these guys land on each list, because I want a guy who's at 5x all the time. I want a guy who's projected to score a lot of points. I want a guy who's projected to bring a lot of value. I want a guy who's in a great matchup. The more I check those boxes, the stronger and stronger that play becomes. Really and truly, what I'm doing is forming my own core independent of what our coaches think. And then what I will do is I will go back later tonight, look at what my coaches are saying, and maybe put other stars or other circles around. And I'm going to formulate stronger and stronger and stronger picks of guys that are very unlikely to fail tonight or might have great options or opportunities to hit their ceilings tonight. And those are going to be the guys that make most of my lineups. But if this is all I had time to do was just this and one stuff, I'm going to go into the optimizer and I'm going to call it the main slate. And I'm going to come down here first. And I'm going to build what I call 10 and 5. That's 10 lineups with 5 uniques. And I'm going to click optimize. What am I doing? I'm looking for who the optimizer loves, and it should really, really love whoever I said was at that 7.0. Was that Cornette? Was at that 7.0 value. It should really love him no matter what. There he is everywhere, right? Cornette, oh, he didn't make a lineup. Didn't make another one. Didn't make a lineup. I'll be darned. He's not all in at 7.0x, which is very intriguing to me. Usually they are. But I've got Van Vliet in 90%. Lillard, wow. Cornette's a 7.0 and he's only in half the lineups tonight. That's interesting. That's I've never actually come across that before. He's usually in all of them. But I've got a lot of Van Vliet telling me that the optimizer sees the best way to fit salaries around projected points is by using Van Vliet for cheap at the point guard spot and then paying up in some other spots. It may really want to get off of Cornette's 3,800 and get into, Aminu and Harris or Ibaka, Vonleh, whatever, pay up a little bit at that spot. So now, what I would tell you is pay attention to the industry, listen around for how much they like Cornette at that 3,800 on Fanduel, being that he's a drop score candidate at that price. You're going to want to kind of get an idea of what, maybe that's not the drop score that you want, because one way, if the industry is going there and the industry is going to be using him, it makes very, very good sense in tournaments to fade that player, get off of him, and then focus on a couple of more expensive guys, because then where everybody else pays down, they're likely to be paying up in other spots for the same players, like a Kawhi Leonard or something. However, when you pay up where they pay down, it forces you to pay down elsewhere, and it throws your lineup construction in a completely different direction as everybody else's, which can give you an advantage in tournaments when this Cornette fails. If he fails. Now, he may be at 3,800. You may think there's no chance in hell that he fails. But you may think, stranger things have happened. He can not tie his shoes, trip over his shoelaces, and twist his ankle. Whatever the case may be, you end up picking correctly tonight, and then you're on a completely different lineup construction than everybody else, and you've got a lot lower ownership across the board. And when those guys all start doing well, you start really shooting up some leaderboards. And if Luke Cornette ends up being the drop scorer, then where you paid up and somebody else paid down, you might get 40 points where they only got 28 points too. So the object, there's a lot of leverage there. There's a lot of game theory study. That's the type of stuff that we really talk about inside our coaching channels over at DFS Army, and that's why you really ought to contemplate being a member over there, so that you can talk to the coaches and get some feedback and say, what about this theory or what about this idea? This not just, here's my lineup, look at it, what do you think? But more like, here's why I did what I did. Here's what I'm thinking. What do you think about the thought process? Because the idea here is to teach you guys how to build your own lineups for yourselves, teach you guys how to become better players for yourselves, not just spoon feed you picks and spoon feed you lineups, which is, again, why I'm going through this video to show you how I use the optimizer, how I use the positions and the and one rating and things, how I build my core, because I build it differently than some of our coaches do. And so some of our coaches are going to tip me off the different players tonight. And if they're all chirping the same guy's name, I will add him to my list. I will come back and add him to the optimizer. Does that make sense? So I'll go reset this back to the way I typically build, which is 5 and 2 or 5 and 3. Now that I know that the optimizer is going to love Van Vliet, Lillard, Jokic, whatever. Okay, and so I might be thinking that Maybe Embiid is, more of a contrarian play. Maybe Kawhi Leonard and Giannis are contrarian plays tonight because everybody's going to be loving Lillard and Jokic as a combination. So these are things that are starting to enter my head and things I'm starting to kind of pick up on. I will uncheck all of these boxes for now, and I'm going to review our coaches here in about an hour or two. And I'm going to click on the guys that I listed. Remember, Lillard was listed, Fox was listed, Simmons was listed, Bledsoe, and Murray. Jamal Murray, Eric Bledsoe. And then I'm going to come down here. Van Vliet was on that list, remember? This is where I'm going to have a little bit of trouble remembering exactly who these guys were. It doesn't look like anybody super cheap, point guard wise, was on the list, which is probably why Van Vliet was so important, is because he buys down some value for you instead of having to pay double the price, double high at point guard. Shooting guard, Jimmy Butler was on the list. Middleton was not. Donovan Mitchell was not. Buddy was. Lou Williams was not. Interesting. Being, well, 4.5 for a value. Bogdanovich was. CJ McCollum was. JJ Redick was. I saw his name. Your Valley Galley down. Shumpert was, which is interesting. That's another drop score candidate. And I'm going to try and keep my guys to where I don't have more than 1 or 2 drop score candidates in my lineup because I want to build a little bit more balanced lineup. I don't want to have 2 drop score guys in there. One guy get 12 points, one guy get 15 points, because then I have to drop the 12, but then I have to take the 15, and that's not usually going to lead to building stronger lineups. Giannis, Kawhi Leonard, Gallinari was listed. Was Gary Harris? He was a questionable guy though. Ingles, Squancho was in there. Wilson Chandler was in there. Harkless was in there. Who else is down in there? O'Neal OG was in there. Okay, that looks like about it. And what I'm doing again is I'm assembling my player pool according to the and one rating system tonight. Harrell was in there. Was Ibaka in there? He was not. He was not a value either. Sycam Vonley, which is interesting because our research station loved him, or our domination station loved him. Paul Millsap was in there. Knox, and this isn't a foolproof plan. It's just like I said, it removes one of the moving pieces so that you know it's not completely on you, flip-flopping around all the time. This keeps one thing steady so that you can evaluate. The fewer moving pieces you have, the better you can evaluate your system, or you can change one thing here or one thing there and get a better idea at what is actually affecting things the most, what's actually going to help your game the most when you build like that. Plumlee was in there, Brolo was in there. Is there another cheaper guy in there? Nope. So okay, so we're roughly at 32 players. For a 5-game slate, that's pretty good. Now I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to hope that not all of those guys show up in my lineup, those drop score candidates, but I'm going to build 5 lineups, 3 unique players, and we're going to see what that puts out for me. Lillard, Van Vliet, of course, Van Vliet's going to be in everything again. And see, I'm only going to say run 2 lineups tonight, but I built 5 because I want options. I want to be able to look and choose for myself what lineups I think I like the best. These are all players that I rated high. These are all, I may go add a guy or 2 in later, based on what coaches say, but generally speaking, these are all guys that I want to see. So I shouldn't really care what the combination is. They're all players I like. But what I'm going to do is I am going to naturally like one a little bit more than the other because my own bias is going to be in there. Maybe I don't like Fred Van Vliet tonight, and so I would uncheck him. But maybe I like CJ McCollum, so if I see a lineup without McCollum, I'm not really going to consider that lineup. Something like it. Maybe I like Kawhi tonight, so I see a lineup without Kawhi, I don't really want to consider it. I'm going to be looking at the DFS Army points and the fantasy points. If I go changing anything, I'll show you how to do that last. I'm going to get different points and fantasy points, and I'm going to use those a little bit differently myself. But let's say we look at Lillard, Van Vliet, McCollum. We like that lineup. Well, I might check that lineup or uncheck it. And let's say I don't like this one, and I don't like this one. Okay, and I like this one. And look, we're ranging from 306 to 304 points projected. It's not like there's a big difference in those lineups. So all I'm really trying to do is get, say, 2 or 3 lineups I really, really like, and I'm going to put those in tonight. I'm going to compare them. Damian Lillard, Van Vliet. Okay, well, Lillard and Van Vliet are in all of my lineups. So if I wanted to get off of them so that I was a little bit injury-proof or whatever, then I would have to go back in and manually bump somebody like a Jamal Murray or somebody up, or Eric Bledsoe up. Somebody that I liked, I would have to go add to them. How would I do that? Well, I should have checked all of these. It doesn't matter. I go back up in here into the point guard, right? And I saw, okay, I like Fox tonight, and he's at a 4.18 projected, which sucks. So I add the smiley face to him. Now he's at a 4.81. If I really wanted him to pull into a lot of stuff, I'd give him 45 points. And now he's at a 4.95. He's in there with Lillard at the value. You're comparing the value, because this is what the optimizer is going to love, is the value. Let's say Eric Bledsoe, 4.4. Dang, don't like him. So let's say I went to adore him, 5.1. Maybe that's a little high. So I'm going to come back down here to the 4.8. Nah, it needs a little more than that. So let's call it 35.75. And I should be right at the, see, I'm right at the 5 mark again. If I got everybody kind of at the 5 mark, the optimizer is going to view them rather equally, and it's going to mix and match a little bit more randomly, which is going to actually keep me from getting too overexposed to any particular player. Okay? Loves Van Vliet. Let's say I didn't like Van Vliet as much. I'm going to back him down a little bit. Back him down 10%, get him down to the 5.1 area as well. Okay, now I've got these guys all sitting in the 5 range. It's not going to love Jamal Murray no matter what I do. I can get him all the way up here to the adore, and it's 4.6. Still doesn't love him a bunch. Ben Simmons, same way. Add 5% to him, and it's only got him at 4.6. Shouldn't pull a whole lot of those two guys. I do trust our projections, and so there's something up with the matchup or something going on that we're not projecting them at a ton of points. That's another thing a consensus will do is I can go around to other sources and check Roto Grinders or Fantasy Cruncher or Fantasy Labs or whatever. And if I have access to their projection system, I can compare. Okay, we say he's a 43. This one says 44. This one says 45. This one says 45. Maybe I take him off of our 43 and I bump him to like a 44 or a 44.5 or something like that. And I can manually come back in here and change that to the projections that the industry is telling me he should do. And I might believe the weight of the industry, or I might say, we're right, they're wrong, the hell with them, and run with that. There are options for you everywhere. But this is how we use these little smiley faces. These are my core, but I didn't smiley face everybody. And maybe you want everybody around a 5x. Maybe you want them at a, some at a 7 and some at a, that's up to you. That's where you get to customize the tool and really get that fun with it. I might go through and do that with all of the different positions. Let's say for center, I wanted to see a little bit less of Jokic. I'd take him down about 5%, bring him back down kind of to the pack. Brook Lopez might show up in there now at the 5.09. Nurkic, let's say I liked him a lot. I bring him back up to about the 4.8. And now I should start seeing a little bit of mixture of those 3 guys. Okay? So now when I come back up here and I click Optimize, and I scroll back down to see the lineups, I should get a little bit more variety. Lillard, Fox, Lillard, Fox, Lillard, Fox, Lillard, Bledsoe, Fox, Bledsoe. Okay, so it's not Lillard, Van Vliet everywhere, right? And I've got a couple of different shooting guards. Now centers, Brolo, Jokic, Nurkic. See how that changed it up a little bit? Now I can go through here and I can start assessing maybe some different varieties of lineups and sort of spread my net out today to a couple of different lineups. And maybe one of these combinations hits a lot stronger than the other. That's not so closely tied together that on my whole 3 lineups are going to boom or bust together. They're spread out a little bit differently. So maybe all 3 don't do well, but certainly they won't all 3 do bad. See what I'm saying? So it's a different philosophy. If you're a little more risk-averse player, maybe this is a way that you like to play. So the other thing that I look at is the DFS Army points versus the fantasy points. And the fantasy points, because I boosted some of these guys, gave them that smiley face, extra 10%, extra 15%, it's going to change the fantasy points compared to the straight DFS Army projections. Straight DFS Army projections are telling me that this is my highest lineup here at 300. Well, he's also at a 302. I got a 304, but I got a 302. I may go back down here looking there. If I sort them by fantasy points, well, I'm not going to re-optimize. It's how would I sort them? If I could remember, I haven't done this for a while. There it is. Sort by fantasy points or sort by DFSA points, right? So if I've sorted by fantasy points, that's why the 304 is at the top and the 302, whatever. And this is only for when these are different. When you've been messing with smiley faces or messing with projections manually. So what I'm doing is I see my 304 up top, and that's a 297. I see my 302, and it's 296. I see my 302, 302 and 302. This one's a 296, this one's a 298. I might break the tie with this one. So I might like this one as my own optimal. I might like this one next, because it's kind of, again, it's a consensus. Not only are the fantasy points that I gave the players giving it a good score, but also the raw score of the DFS Army projections agrees with this lineup more than this one. Okay? So that might be a way to do it. 302 and 300, 302 and 287. So something's clearly whack with this. This one pulled a lot more of the smiley faces in it than the DFS Army projections like. I might do that one for a tournament line. Something like that. Or I might opt for this one since it's kind of close. You know, it's kind of 300 and 302. I'll opt for that one instead. Choices are yours. So if I ran this lineup, and this lineup, and ran 3 ladders out there tonight, there you go. Now, if you don't know what a ladder is, you might want to scroll down to the next video in this article and see the ladder video and see how to kind of allocate your contests and your bankroll accordingly to maximize your upside and still hedge against good nights with the safety of the cash game and whatnot. It's a very unique strategy that allows you to kind of cover your butt, and I do it with a couple of different lineups, and it allows me to just kind of continually plug and chug as the industry grows, and it gives me access to good nights with upside, but it also really, really protects me against downside. Something that you ought to probably look into. Hopefully what you've seen through this video is how to kind of assemble a player pool, how much emphasis to sort of give the coach's picks. You might add them into what you're already doing, but you're not going to just strictly take, unless that's how you play, is you follow one coach and what he says is what you agree with. That's fine too, but you might want to grow a little bit as a player yourself and kind of infuse some of your own thoughts into your lineup. And so this is how I do it. Maybe you do it a little bit differently. I'd love to hear how you do it differently. Go ahead and comment on the video or comment in our coaching channels or whatever and let us know how you kind of build your lineups a little bit differently. And then maybe we foster a little conversation back and forth where we can really do some coaching and dive in. Maybe this is a little bit suboptimal, or maybe this is a little bit better, or maybe you teach me something too. Look, I'm not the end-all be-all to NBA DFS. I'm not some, God guru guy that is going to come touting out to you that I know all and you should just follow me blindly. I relish your opinions. I want to get better myself, and not everybody has, the keys to the Cadillac. So I'm still looking to improve my key as well. If that's you, you would really benefit from our VIP chat sessions and our coaching channels and that group think and kind of that discussion. That would really, really benefit you. It'd be worth investing in your game for. The only way you can do that is to click the link at the bottom of the video, dfsarmy.com, use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, get that 10% off discount. Of course, like and subscribe to the video while you're down there, ring the little notification bell so you get the next video I produce, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, whatever. But you get all of those videos, and then let's talk, man. Let's get in here and let's start coaching you into a better player. Let's take your game to the next level. If you're an intermediate and you're already blowing me away and you go, man, that guy is dumb, then you may not need me, but I've got the access to the coaches that you do need that can make you a great player. And again, you can only find that by being a VIP inside DFSArmy.com. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like it, subscribe it. I'll see you guys out on Twitter. Give me a little thumb up and a like out there as well. And we'll talk more inside DFSArmy.com as the days roll on in the new year, 2019. Here we are. Can't wait to talk to you guys. We'll see you guys, I guess, on the inside. Take care.